Hi everyone and welcome to Greedy 3D. Well, today we're going to go back to some PLA printing on our trusty Creality Ender 5 printer. We're going to be making the Starlord helmet from Guardians of the Galaxy from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We'll have a look at how we managed to fit it all on the build plate. I'll show you how I cut it down to make the printing process a little bit easier, and we'll talk about and we'll show you the whole process as we go through. Hope you enjoy this. Stay tuned to the end so you can see the final product, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much. So I'm using Slicer to put the helmet in, and the reason I'm using Slicer is I'm going to cut it into two halves. Now, technically you could get away with printing this in one go, just reduce the size of a little bit and you would fit it onto the Ender 5, Ender 3, but you'd use an awful lot of supports and you do risk having a failure with quite a big print. So for my peace of mind and just to use some less supports, I'm going to cut it in half, and I'll show you the process how to cut it in half. And this can be used for many different things, or if you want to just cut them up so they fit onto your printer. So what we're going to do is select the item we want to cut and select the cut option. Now, the processing power required to do the cuts is quite high, so don't be alarmed if everything seems to freeze and it seems to be thinking about things for a long time. Bear with it. Okay, so once we've opened up the next section, there's a couple of things you need to do here. One is untick show preview. That reduces some of the processing power, ergo some of the time, and make sure that you select the button there that says keep the upper part as well. So there's the model ready to be cut, and we're using the Z axis, as you can see. Now what I want to do is just use the Z axis to move the cut to just on that line there. Now I know that that's sitting on around about 102. So I'm going to change that to 102 there, not 220, bear with me. 102. And it should be around about that line, there we go, and I'm happy with that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to perform the cut, and again it's going to be a bit of time, don't be too surprised if your computer hangs a little bit. And voila, we've cut it into two parts. So this is the easy part now, really. Just choose one of the pieces. We're going to get rid of that piece there, so highlight it green, right mouse click, select delete. That piece we're going to now export to STL, and we'll save it as, for argument's sake, Starlord 1. Once we've saved that piece, select plate, undo, delete the piece that you've just saved, and there you go, there's the second piece which we're going to export to STL, and we'll call it Starlord 2. So now we've got it cut in half in two pieces. Let's move it across onto Cura and have a look at what we would do next. So we've opened up the first part of the helmet there, as you can see. Now there's a couple of things that I've had to do with this. You'll notice I've reduced it down to 92%, and that's just so I can fit it comfortably on the build plate. Now I'm not too bothered about wearing this helmet, it's for display. If you did want to use a helmet for you to wear, you might have to rethink if this is the right process for you. You might have to cut it up a few more times to fit it in as 100%, but for me, just to display a decent size helmet, I'm happy with that. I'm using a standard quality setting. I'm using tree supports because it will still need some tree supports. You can see the areas of red there, and I'm going to slice it. If I sliced it, and I've done this a couple of times, you're looking at about 1 day, 2 hours, and about 250 grams of material to actually make it print. So that's part one. Part two, there we go. Now what I've done with part two is exactly the same. I've reduced it down to 92%. I've also printed it flat. Now I'm going to show you how to turn it onto a flat edge, just in case you're not sure. So let's just skew it up a little bit. Okay, so what you would do to make it print on the edge that you want it to print, you would select the rotate function. You would select the select face to align to build plate function, and then you would click on the flat edge that you want it to build to. And there you go, it moves it down to how you would want it. Pop it in the position you want, standard setting, tree supports enabled, and slice. And that one will take roughly about a day to print 153 grams of PLA. So let's have a look now at the printing process. we've moved on to the second part, the back of the helmet, and I'm going to print this one, or at least attempt to, in one go. This is the orientation that I'm going to use, and of course I've reduced it down to 92% to match the front. I've also changed the settings for support so that now it's normal supports, and I'm hoping that will give it a little bit more stability, and this is what it's going to look like with the supports in place. So I'm hoping it will give it some rigidity, and it should be able to print in one go. And well, do you know what, this is a bit of a suck and see thing, which it is with lots of times with 3D printing. So let's have a go, let's just see what happens, and we'll take it from there. If it doesn't work, we'll reevaluate it.
There we go then. It's all done. It's come out really well. I'm really pleased with the way the support structure worked and the quality of the finish just on standard. And one piece back done. So now let's put it together. I've joined the top and the bottom with some Gorilla Glue, and I've just used a little bit of wood filler to fill the tiny little gap that was there, smoothed it down with my finger, and as you can see, the back went on as well. No need for any filler in the back, it just glued into place. Absolutely lovely. But of course we can't get away from sanding, so we're going to give it a bit of a sand. I'm using a Mouse Black & Decker sander here, and I'm just touching some of the finer points in the edges with a 180 grit sandpaper just to smooth it over a little bit. And once the sanding is done, we're going to move on to the priming. So any old primer will do. I'm just using some basic primer on there just to cover a few of the blemishes. You can always sand it again if you want to, and once you've done that, main colour goes on, and I'm just using some Rust-Oleum gun metal. Few layers of that have gone on, just drying in between, just to give it a nice smooth coat all over. And that's a really good base finish for the helmet, as you can see, just making sure you get the inside as well as the outside, as you'll be able to see that. Next comes the dreaded masking. Just have a look at the areas, use some reference pictures that you need to be for the next colour, which is silver, and mask it up. Took a bit of time to do this, but once it's done it makes the painting process easier. And I'm just going to use some Rust-Oleum chrome to give it the silver bits. A good shake of the can, and away you go, getting some of that silver chrome on there. Make sure you hit all the areas, let it dry in between and give it another coat. And then once you've got the chrome on, it's time for the remasking ceremony, but this time to leave the areas of gold. Now don't mask it too soon, give it a good 6 to 8 hours drying time, as you're going to pull all your silver off. Once you're happy that you've got all the areas ready for gold, it's time to hit it with some gold. And what I'm using here is just some Olympic Gold, Tuscany Gold car paint, giving it a few layers of that. And what I've used for the eyes is just some material that I found in B&M, cut it out to size, sprayed it red with just a red spray paint I had lying around, and used some super glue to stick it onto the back. And now we come to the LEDs. Just get any old LEDs. I bought some from eBay, relatively cheap, some nice red ones. Wire them together. I'm using a bit of super glue, some hot glue even, and some electrical tape to just connect the connectors together to make sure that they don't touch. And then I'm going to continue to use some of the super glue once I've done that to put the parts inside. I've connected them all to a 9-volt battery, and there's a little on and off switch in there as well, and that will turn them on and turn them off when I want to. So super gluing them in. I've used 3 LEDs on each of the eyes, and I've just put them in a bit of a triangle pattern, holding them in place as the glue dries, and just giving them another layer of glue just to hold them in place really well. Not too fiddly. Try and keep the wires as tidy as you can, because you don't want to be looking at wires all over the place. And little bit of time, little bit of care, and wire them in. You'll be amazed at the end result when they all work, and it all looks really incredible once it's done. And there we go, and we are ready now for the big reveal. Hope you enjoy it. So there we go, Starlord helmet, all done. It's taken about 3 whole days, that's 3 24-hour periods to print all of this, and another couple of days to paint it, leaving some drying time in between. And as you can see on the video, about half an hour to an hour to just put the LEDs in and finish it off really. So not a huge task by any stretch, but it's a lovely finish, isn't it? And I've wanted a Starlord helmet for ages and ages and just never got around to it. So now I've done it, and you can too. Just follow the way I've done it today, and you'll have your very own Peter Quill Starlord helmet. Now this doesn't fit me. It's a little bit small, so if you want to make it a bit bigger, instead of cutting it into 2, just cut it into 4 and keep it 100%, or you can put it to 110%. Just make it bigger and it will fit. There are videos on there about how you can tweak your enders to get these to fit in one print. Something I haven't tried, but certainly worth browsing good old YouTube and having a look. But hope you've enjoyed today, hope you enjoy the helmet, and we'll see you very soon next time on Greedy 3D. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe.